Hey, friends, welcome back to the Call to Lead podcast. So, today's episode is going to be another interview with one of our founding partner mentors who I have been touting to share her story on this podcast for over a year now. So, if you have been listening for a long time to the podcast and you've heard me talk about Colleen Matthews and the impact that she has made on my life as a leader, mentor, and friend, you are finally about to hear her story of how not only has she been able to have amazing success in the direct sales industry, but a foundational element of Restore Collective as one of our founding partner mentors. So you're going to love this week's episode, and I can't wait for you guys to meet and get to know the heart of Colleen. Let's dive in. Okay, so Colleen, I am seriously so excited. I feel like this could be like a hours long podcast to share the amazing journey that you and I alone have been on together. But I'm so excited for the listeners to be able to just hear your heart and your story and inspiration of all that you've been able to do and your multiple experiences in network marketing leadership and just bringing that here to Restore as one of our very first founding partner mentors. In fact, we go way back with that, all the way back to the beginning. So thanks for being here, girl.
Well, I'm excited. It's been a long time coming.
Definitely, for sure. Well, for those that might not know your story, because we obviously have a lot of new listeners to the podcast that are following along with the Restore journey, I would love for you to just maybe share a little bit of your background, really what your life was like even before you got into network marketing, but then how you've been able to just grow into an amazing leader and even grow closer together in your marriage with Evan and being a mama. When you and I met here in Savannah, actually years ago, you didn't even have I think you had 2 kids, right? When we first met, and so you've added a couple more, and now they're growing up so fast, and you've lived all over the country. So I want people to hear from your heart and your voice, the beautiful story that the Lord has woven for you when it comes to all the things. So give us a scoop.
Okay. So Evan and I have been married a little over about 16 and a half years. So for a hot minute. And he's a West Coast boy and I'm an East Coast girl. So we met in Kentucky, which is a fun part of our story. I don't have enough time to share how that happened, but it's only God could have put our story together, which is really special. And so when I met Evan, he was a tanker. So we're active duty military family, and he is going to retire this year, which is very, very exciting. 20 plus years in service. Very proud of him and the life we've built and the experiences we've been able to have. But when I met him, he was a tanker, and his big lifelong dream was to be a lawyer. And so he got accepted into the FLEP program. And then we got engaged and got married and started our journey in Virginia and had 2 kids in Virginia and then moved to Georgia in Savannah. And that's where I met you, Heather. I had no direct sales experience at all. I feel like the direct sales industry wasn't really a thing. Probably, I guess it was around 2014. Yeah, it was when I was actually pregnant with Kerrigan. That was my 3rd one. She was born in Georgia, in Savannah, my only Georgia-born child, actually. And that fall, I joined the network marketing industry as a Noonday collection ambassador. And I did this truly because of Noonday's mission. I had followed a couple of influencers and authors for a really, really long time, and they talked about Noonday collection. So it was more of, I don't think I really knew what network marketing was. It was more of just, I really loved the jewelry and accessories, and I loved the foundational aspect that they were made across the world and that I was supporting these families in third world countries and being able to bring their stories to women in the United States. And I was so enveloped with that idea, and I've always loved travel, and it just seemed like the perfect fit. And so I got into it then and just kind of fell in love with the model of network marketing because it's such a social business and you just invite people in. And I'm mildly obsessed with human behavior. And that's like a whole nother story. But because of that, I think being with women, and I've always led women in some capacity, even since high school. And so being able to kind of find my footing in a business where I could earn income, but also just have parties and be with women and meet new women that I'd never met before. It was just it was a new thing for me. And so I just loved that part of it. And then realized that I could actually make an income. And so then that started to grow. And I actually became a top leader with Noonday Collection and served on their advisory board. And I was with that company for almost 7 years and loved it, loved every minute, got to travel to Haiti and Vietnam, and I just have so many experiences with them, and I'm still good friends with a lot of the girls that I was ambassadors with. You make these connections with women, and they never go away, and I'm grateful for that. So joined that, and I was with them for a long time, and through that with our family, Evan deployed for a year to Afghanistan. We moved from Georgia back to Virginia. We moved to Alaska, lived in Alaska for 2 years, back down to Texas for 3.5, and now we're in Alabama. While we were in Texas, he also deployed for another 11 months. So it was, it's been an interesting journey to live all over, but actually that's another great thing I've loved about network marketing is the ability to travel with it. For me as a military spouse, to be able to take my business wherever we went, that's something that unless you're a remote worker, you can't do that. So to be able to earn an income and build a business, and I don't have a huge social following. I have built relationships with people and built trust that all over. Like I joke all the time, if I need to fly to pretty much any state or a lot of countries, I've got a bed to land in because you do have the opportunity to live in so many cultures and meet so many people. And I think that has been one of the foundational abilities for me to grow, my businesses where they were.
I'm thinking back in this season, it's just well, I have so many thoughts and so many facets to our story in this, but it's wild that you and I met when you were a Noonday ambassador, when one of my good friends invited me last minute to one of your trunk shows. Trunk shows?
Mhm.
Is that what they're called? Yeah.
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 Mhm.
Yeah. So trunk shows. And like I wasn't like the host didn't even I know her now, but I didn't even know her then. And I just was like, sounds like fun. I'll go with you. And so it's really cool to see how God introduces people and just in the action of you inviting, I think it was Christina, right? Like to be your host for this trunk show. She then of course invited her friend Christine, who then invited me and then we met. And it's just so wild to look like even through the journey. Funny enough, I actually did sign up as a Noonday ambassador. That's another story for another day. And then Colleen was one of my first customers at, Saint, if my story in that, this is one of my favorite stories to share. She returned the makeup because I color matched her wrong. Then I finally got to I hosted a Noonday trunk show. We love Noonday around here still. I hosted a Noonday trunk show in my boutique. Finally got to try yet another wrong color on her face, but she somehow wound up falling in love with the makeup, did decide to enroll, and then, of course, maybe that's where we can kinda pick up. But just watching the way the Lord weaves the actions, the bold actions of you inviting someone to host for you, who then invited a friend, who then invited a friend, to then meet someone who honestly has changed my life in so many ways. It's just really cool to look back. So now let's dive into circa whatever year that was that you decided you did in fact like the makeup.
Yeah, it is crazy to think back that because it's been over a decade. Like I met you over a decade ago. And the craziest thing is that God knew then that we would be doing this together now. And that is so wild where he's brought us from, 2014 here to 2025 and the adventures all and so many things in between, right? So yeah, that was 2018 that I joined as Saint artist. And actually it was like a week before I left for Vietnam with Noonday to go on that trip. And then shortly after we moved to Texas and Evan deployed for 11 months. And so that was one of the hardest years of my life. And kind of going into my story with network marketing kind of taking it to a new level, we were in a financial situation that was really tricky. And I like to tell this story because I think it resonates with a lot of women. But when my oldest, we have 4 kids, our oldest is a boy, and then we have 3 girls. And when my oldest was in 3rd grade, he wrote an essay, and it was supposed to be a persuasive essay. And so he wrote about how he wanted my mom or his mom to buy an ice cream maker, why I should buy an ice cream maker. And all of the reasons were because I wouldn't have to worry about paying for ice cream if we went out. I wouldn't have to worry. He said the word worry no less than probably 6 or 7 times in his essay. And when he brought that home, Evan was deployed, and I remember feeling the weight of my, 3rd grader noticing that I was worrying about finances, and I didn't want that for them, for any of my kids. I didn't want to live in a place where that dominated they're too young to think about what I'm worrying about. And so when Evan got back from that deployment, we kind of made a mutual decision and said no more, and we cut out certain habits, and I went all in with Saint at that point and had my first exponential month and had a huge, growth through that first year when I just went all in with it. And then since then, it just continued to grow pretty steadily at a pace, and I mean, financially changed our family's life. I mean, hands down. And so, you know, when that change happened last year and Saint changed their compensation plan to reward high sellers and kind of take away the team aspect, that was really difficult for me on a lot of levels. One, because team building and team and community and human behavior is a passion of mine, and that felt empty when they decided to take that away. But then in addition to that, it was also the income that we didn't expect to ever go away. And so it's been a learning process through the whole thing, but I'm so grateful for all the experiences that I had both at Noonday and Saints because I am not the same person. I'm not the same leader. I'm not the same friend. I'm not the same level emotionally that I was. And without having gone through all of those experiences, even if they sucked, I wouldn't be who I am today. And I wouldn't be able to be in such a supportive role for Heather and Roger and for all the other FPMs. I don't think I would have been mature enough to do this role a couple years ago. And so, again, just going back to his timing, it's perfect and we can't always see it, but I'm grateful for where we're at now, and we're only going up.
Yes. Well, and it's so wild. Once again, just like thinking of our story and our journey through your journey with Saint and through some really hard times. I mean, you've had individually hard times, whether that be like health related, or, even team related. Like, I mean, network marketing leadership is not easy. But when I think specifically, and we talked about this in the prayer right before we called, right before we hit record, is that like iron really does sharpen iron. And I've known from day one, which is why you were a dream teamie and a dream customer of mine back in the day, that you were iron, that you were a rock, in the Lord. But in order to be sharpened into this diamond, we have to have other pieces of iron to be able to, in addition to the Lord, of course, to be able to shape and reform us. And I feel the same way. Like, I know that I wouldn't be where I am as a leader getting ready to take on the huge task of founding this company if it weren't for you being a piece of iron to sharpen me into who I am. And so that's pretty special. Number one, to hear your humility and even just admitting that. And even for people, like, I would never want someone to look at me circa 5 years ago or 10 years ago or certainly 15 years ago before I knew the Lord, and base where I am now on that. And so it's just what an amazing journey for the growth that we've had, the literal roller coaster, which
Yeah.
I'm gonna link to that episode too, by the way. So you guys, longtime listeners, will know which one I'm talking about. But you wanna tell the story? Because it's kind of a good one.
About on the Wild Eagle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I actually have my little if anybody needs a visual here, like you're actually watching and not listening.
Mine's somewhere around here.
Yeah, Heather and I, we went to a leadership retreat October of 2023 in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, which is the home of Dollywood, which my family loves amusement parks, and Dollywood's a huge favorite, and they have this roller coaster called the Wild Eagle, and if you know Heather, you know she's not, like, an adrenaline junkie, like, she doesn't big, rides or that stuff, it's not that she's scared, it's that it's just not her preference, like, she's just not gonna put herself in a position where she wants to do those types of things, so in going to the park that day, I was like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna go hang out with, like, all my girlfriends that are gonna do these, like, thrill rides," right? So, Heather, like, bebopped off to go get cinnamon bread with whoever, and it was like, "Okay, see you later." And then she came and, like, found me at one point, and I remember she was like I mean, I knew that the wild eagle existed because my family visited Dollywood frequently, but I don't know that you knew. Did you know that there was a wild eagle? Did you know that that was a
Oh, no, no, no. Well, I didn't know much about what I knew about Dollywood, I actually learned from you, and you convinced me to ride the Thunder Mountain one or Mountain something. That's
Yes,
the best roller coaster that I've like, that one makes me wanna try more roller coasters because that thing
yes,
is amazing, and the only reason I got on that one also was because of you. So then when I trusted you because I actually had fun on something that was kinda scary, but like you said, it's fear wasn't what held me back. I'm like, "Why would you put yourself in a position to be scared? Like, why would you do that?" And then I was like, "Oh, wait, because it's actually kinda fun." So
yeah.
that's so no, I did not know about the wild eagle.
Well, in Heather's word, what was your word for last year?
Well, renewal,
Renew
was freedom at that time in
oh,
2020.
2023, what was your word?
Well, it was freedom, but was
Sorry.
technically the Isaiah 40:31, which you just texted me that yesterday, I think, was scripture from your Write the Word, which I meant to ask you, what Write the Word journal are you using? Because I just talked about this on last week's podcast. What word did you choose?
I have courage right now.
Edge, that's a good one. Yes, I'm doing hope, I think, as I talked about on there, but I did just order my joy one during their sale last week. But anyways, I digress. Isaiah 40:31 is actually it's kind of my leadership-based, like, network marketing leadership-based verse. I have verses for everything, but that one in particular, "You will soar on wings like eagles. You will walk and not grow weary. You will run and not grow faint." That, to me, describes my journey in network marketing and putting my trust in the Lord and truly aspiring to be an eagle, which means letting him carry me through the hard stuff, which includes a lot of those hard things with you. And so, yes, so that the eagle, the wild eagle, if you've been to Dollywood, it's literally straight down, which I don't do. Falling, no, thank you. And
And
it's
there's no floor for your feet. Your feet just dangle, which I love those, but that for people that like to feel secure, that's like the worst type of roller coaster, and it goes upside down.
yeah, yeah. Which that down part doesn't scare me. For some reason, I did grow up going to Six Flags over Georgia as a child, and there was one I think it was called like the Ninja or something that had it did you just kind of move the whole
Like the
time and like you
corkscrew.
know
Mhm.
there wasn't the anticipation of going up, 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 up. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, what are we doing? Oh my gosh, this is and they're going straight down. So no, I would never ever have thought in a million years about going on the wild eagle, but I knew and like looking at that eagle and I mean I it was like everything in my being. I was like I'm going on that ride and there's one person here at this park that needs to be on that ride with me and it is Colleen. And I remember you were with other people and you're like I don't want to leave my team. I was like they will understand. You're coming with me. You're going to you're coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt a little bit bad, like, piecing out on my girls, but you were like, so dead set, and I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna tell Heather no." Like, there's just certain times you know not to tell Heather no, and this was one of them. And I remember actually we were standing in line and, even, like, the lead up, like, the line standing was fine, and then we kinda get there, and you could see Heather kinda, like, kinda put her shoulders back and get a little tense, and I will never forget, like, when the ride initially does a huge and you hear the click, 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 click as you're going up that, huge ascent. And I remember you grabbed my hand but your eyes were closed. And I remember telling you, "Heather, open your eyes. You have to watch this. You have to open your eyes." And then you were like, I can't do it." And I was like, "Heather, open your eyes." And then we went over the crest and then we went down. And then that's when the picture caught us and it was like perfect. So yeah. And then the right outside the ride in the cement, it says "soar" on the cement. So we actually got a picture with that too, because that was even though that wasn't your word for the year, that had come up in so many different parts of not just your journey that year, but my journey and our journey together, and so it was just really special.
Ugh, yes, so special. And yeah, SOAR to me is the goal for anyone, if you're listening to this and you have big goals in network marketing and direct sales, Colleen really does exemplify that eagle, especially as I've watched her ascend. That's up the crazy roller coaster. That like truly trusting in the Lord in all of the strengths and gifts, and that's I know one of your passions that we probably don't have time to talk about today. But if you want, you need to for sure subscribe to her newsletter, Happy Mail, which comes out every other week. I'll drop the link to that too because it blesses me every time. and you'll see her heart for building others up with, just sharing little encouraging things and a lot more of her story as well. But truly, it's like to me, soaring, if you want to do big things, should be the goal. And that's why that verse is so important, so vital. And definitely you'll be hearing more about it at Restore down the road. So everyone listening, stay tuned for more background on that story. Well, speaking of Restore, I'd love to kind of share a little bit of how you and Evan, of course, because he was right there from the beginning too, got involved. I'm talking from like day one, basically, of this company. So maybe share what that journey's looked like in terms of your journey with Restore so far.
Well, first of all, it has been such a blessing to see this really build from the ground up, like from literally from an aha moment of could we actually do this to where we are right now with a production line and formulation and things shipping and seeing it holding, makeup and bags and bottles and actually holding what was once just an idea. And I mean, I love creation. I still bake. It's one of my little hobbies. And I love taking random things, random ingredients, and putting them together to build something so beautiful. And I feel like that's what we're doing. And yeah, from the moment from that first week of July, a lot had happened with Saint that week, and I remember being on a call with some of the girls that were also direct to her then, and I remember her saying, just talking about kind of how we were all feeling, and I just threw out kind of randomly, "Well, we just need to start our own direct sales company." A and everyone kinda laughed because, I mean, wouldn't that be nice to just say it and it happen right away? But then Heather actually thought she could. And then, she had in unbeknownst to me, she had been having, meetings with people and conversations that I wasn't aware of at this point, that I think the Lord had been preparing her for these next couple of moments. And then my family at the time was at Hilton Head Beach, and then I remember on July 4th, I remember having a texting conversation with her that night because we were only probably about an hour and a half physically apart from each other because she was in Savannah and I was in Hilton Head. And we were both watching fireworks. And I think we were both enjoying Chardonnay, actually. I think we actually have pictures of that. Do you remember that? Like cheering virtually in our text messaging. And I remember Heather saying, like, "I can't stop writing, like, all these ideas are flowing, like, it's like it it's the birth of something, it's the fireworks, it's the" what was it? You coined it somehow, it was the spark. It would You would talk about the spark and how that played into, Independence Day and 4th of July, and, I'm like, I know, if you know Heather at all and she gets on this roll and she's like all the ideas start just out downloading for her, and she's like wild woman taking notes and everything, and then we had the opportunity, Evan and I, to go to dinner with her the very next night, so that was July 5th, and we went to this super cute place in Hilton Head. What was it called, Heather?
PQ's. It's one of my favorite restaurants in the world.
Yeah, the food was so good. The food was so good. And we sat there for hours. Probably, I mean, it was over 3 hours. Our poor waiter was probably like, "Please get up and leave." And we just sat there and Heather shared kind of her vision where she was at. And I mean, to have Evan along with me, because through my network marketing journey, he has always been a support, a backbone, and like the physical representation of holding me up. Like, I just like, if there's anybody that has always thought that I could do whatever I wanted to do, it's my husband. And he's always supported me in everything I've wanted to do, but it's always kind of been my venture, working Noonday has always kind of been my venture. Saint was kind of always my venture. And Restorer is completely different. He's a part of it. And I would say to anyone listening, if that has been part of your story, where it's been you doing direct sales as a hobby or a full-time income or a part-time job, but your husband hasn't been a part of it, you have the opportunity to invite him to be a part of it and your kids. And that is something that I think it sets Restore apart among many things. But that is one thing with it being so family focused that it's about the whole of the family, the health of the family, the health of the marriage, the health of how God shows up in your lives. That is going to be what makes Restore indestructible. And so that night to be able to invite him in to that and for him to sit across from Heather and hear it directly from her and him ask her hard questions and she asks us hard questions and to be able to kind of dream together. I mean, that was one of those nights that just will go down in history for us, I think.
Ugh, same. Yeah. I'm so grateful for those memories and the foundational elements and the impact that your marriage and that your feedback has come in. And it's funny because I just had something which it'll be one of those secrets for down the road, but there was something that Evan said in that uh, meeting, if you will, or that dinner that I kind of forgot about, and I just remembered it today, and I was like, "Oh, yes, we need to implement that." So stay tuned for one of the Evanisms that will come in because we just really truly do want to invite the families on this journey because I know because I've experienced it and I've watched you do this actually. When you invite them on it with you, it's so much more fulfilling for everybody. So I love that. It's been really cool to kinda, like, walk down memory lane, and I'm just so grateful to have you, a part of this for sure. So, let's kinda shift into the part of the podcast where we kinda keep things consistent because obviously your story, all of everybody's stories is so different and so beautiful. But I want people to be able to get to know you specifically as a leader, whether they're considering you as a founding partner mentor. The cool part is we all have a heart of abundance, to where it's like we believe that there's like the right person that's out there. But I would love to share a little surprise because she doesn't know about this, which is your originally when you kind of filled out the little form or the application survey, whatnot, I asked you to take a little survey that you've done with me before, the high five test to determine your five gifts and strengths. And as we know, there are lots of them. And this is just a capture of it, but it's one way that we can kind of share what that is. So yours from that assessment are believer, strategist, catalyst, storyteller, and commander. And so I want to kind of share that. I don't know if you remember those or like how if they truly do resonate with you. I also know you're the type that doesn't like to be put in a box. Roger's the exact same way. I think he's here. Yep, there he is. Yep. He's the same way. But I'm curious, do you feel like those are accurate reflections of your God-given gifting when it comes to leadership?
100%. 100%. Yeah.
I love it. And the storyteller one I love because I'm like, yep, anybody that's been listening is just like captivated by the stories. And it's such a huge part of this. So I think it's accurate as well. So love that. So the next question I have for you, and I know this is a tough question, but if you had to pick one of our 12 core values, which one kind of resonates the most with you? Oh, and there's one in particular that if you don't say this one, I'm going to have to call you out on it. But which one resonates in particular with you?
Well, I think the one that you would call me out on would be loyalty.
Yep.
Is that yeah. I mean, that's there's so many. I do truly love all of them. It's kind of like asking me to, like, pick a favorite kid. Like, I can't really do that, but, like, if you force me to, loyalty is just something that's so important to me. I mean, I kind of and I think part of it comes from just my background and my research in psychology and human behavior and personal development, and I think that and I mean, gosh, even biblically, the idea of loyalty where somebody has your back no matter what, or on the flip side, when you know somebody has your best interest in mind, so it goes both ways, right? So if I'm loyal to you, Heather, that means that I'm gonna have your back when you're not there. That means that when your name gets brought up in a room that I put all the gold stars behind it, that means that, if anybody tried to tear you down, I would be the one to speak up. But then it goes the other way too. Whereas if my desire is to honor what you've got going on. Your desire is to honor what I've got going on. And there's this kind of bond that forms when loyalty is important in a relationship. And I truly believe that, like, when people are loyal to each other, just like in a marriage, those are the kinds of bonds that won't be broken, no matter how many hard conversations you have to have, no matter how many tears are shed or unmet expectations. It's when you are loyal to someone or something, you always come back to it. It's just that familiar. It's that, like, girl dinner, you know? It's just like you go back to it because it's comfortable and you know that you're not gonna get hurt, you know? And so, I don't know, loyalty is it's just a precious commodity, and I feel like I feel like society's kind of lost that in some ways, and I'm just on a mission to help people find that again.
Love that. Thank you for so beautifully sharing your heart around that word, which when we kind of got together, and actually for those of you guys watching the YouTube, you can see on the wall back there, it's hard to see, but that was when we very first got together and picked out the core values and the mission vision for the company. Loyalty was one that Colleen brought up with those beautiful words, and it's something that's really resonated and with me. And so thank you for kind of diving a little deeper on that. It was beautiful to hear. So the next question is going to be specific to the culture of your branch. So obviously for those listening, in case this is your first time listening, we are inspired in the structure of our company is not a top-down pyramid. It is a bottom-up rooted approach to growing this beautiful tree with our customers and the people who fall in love with this product, of course, being the fruit and the flowers of this beautiful tree. But each of the different branches of the founding partner mentor are going to look slightly different, and they're gonna have kind of a unique flavor to it. And so I would love to kinda know for those that are listening, what are some of the flavors of the culture that you could kinda see and envision for your team and your branch at Restore?
Oh, this is a great question, and I think that when you read my top 5 from the test, you do hear commander and catalyst, and for some people, that might sound scary. But anybody who knows me really, really well knows, I mean, my best friends call me, affectionately call me a pusher because they know I don't settle for things. I push people to be their best selves. And honestly, I think that for people that know me, they secretly love it because they know I'm not gonna just let them take the easy way out. I believe everybody has God-given potential, and, I mean, it's just proven statistic that about 80% of that goes wasted because people just don't chase what they're meant to do and what they were created for, partially because they don't know what it is, and they don't know how to seek it out, but then also partially because either they get comfortable in where they are or they just don't know how to do it. And so I would say that, part of my catalyst commander is really expecting people and helping them find that and coming into their own, like who God really created them to be. And I know that that could be or sound a little bit cliche, but if you don't know what you're running towards, then you're never gonna get there. And so I think that, you know, everybody's goals and definition of success is going to look different, which it should. And so everybody's race is going to look different in their own lane. So whether or not success to you looks like making a couple $100 a month or it looks like a full-time income, then my job, which is a privilege, is to help you get there. And so I'm just one of those people that won't let you settle. And although that might seem a little bit scary, I will tell you the ones that initially found it scary have found so much fulfillment in chasing what maybe they didn't even know was there, just because they were willing to get out of their comfort zone. So, I would say, the flavor of my branch is definitely always the posture of somebody who is a lifelong learner and just wants to be the best version of themselves, for their husbands, for their families, and really leave a legacy. I mean, that's what we're all working towards, right? Is that we wanna leave a mark on people's hearts, and if you don't know how to do that, I can help you figure that out.
Oh, that's so good and so true. It's been a joy to be able to watch you use those gifts to not only, like you said, bless your family's life through this business model, but truly to be a tremendous blessing on so many people around you, whether they're on your team or not. So I love that. And I feel like that's also an accurate description of the next question, which is if you had to describe your ideal partner, and of course we welcome, like you said, anyone in whatever version of success, but do you feel like what you were describing also kind of accurately is a description of your dream teenie and who you feel like would be an ideal person for your team?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you said this earlier, I don't like to be put in a box. So I've never liked that. I'm kind of anti-personality test, which is different, I feel like, than the high five test or the strength finders test. I don't necessarily think that I could say, my avatar or my ideal teamie would be and list you off like 10 qualities. I think it's more about a person's heart and where they want to go. Because I think, like I said, everybody has untapped potential. So whether or not you consider yourself a leader, you are a leader if you have a child because you're leading your child. Or if you are a volunteer, you're leading other volunteers. And I think people underestimate how much their presence actually means in everyday situations. You can be an illuminator in somebody's life just by smiling at them
Mm.
or, exchanging a kind word. And I think there's just not enough of that in today's world. And so I would say come one, come all, because I mean, gosh, we're just lumps of clay, right? That the Lord works into these beautiful vases. And I kind of think everybody's like that. Like everyone is this soul, and God has given a job. He has created each person for something. And so why would I choose certain people over others when everybody could go one way, I mean, or not one way, but everybody is going to be able to flourish how God intended them to flourish. So, I guess I don't have a box for people.
I think that's a great answer. That's perfect. So I want to wrap up talking about the product, a little bit of a fun thing for those kind of listening. And I have another little kind of secret addition to this one. We actually started that. Anyway, this isn't the first time it's come up. But before I get to that, what product are you most excited about? Like of all the things that you've had an opportunity to try and give all kinds of feedback, is there one in particular that you're like, oh my gosh, I love this. Couldn't live without it?
So, I have to tell this really quickly because I think it plays into my answer, but Heather has always kind of affectionately joked that I am, well, a little bit on the extra side. I do like a good bougie experience, and I do like, I do like nice things, right? That is not a sin. And so I have always been in Heather's ear about options and about extras and about the experience, and those things are so important to me. And so I tend to be the one that I tend to lean towards the bolder side of the FPM group, you could probably say, and I think my FPM sisters would probably willingly agree to that, but I I love options, and so 2 things, I guess. One is that because our compact is not only customizable with the insert, but you can actually remove the insert and fit more options into the compact. So it's like not even just one way, it's 2 ways, and then it's 3 ways. And I just think that that is brilliant. So I would say just the versatility of the compact itself, I think is amazing. But if I had to pick the actual like a makeup product, I'm gonna say I think I just have to go with the Lip Cheek Emily. And I think it's because, well, first of all, I knew Emily, and Emily was a special friend to me, and I am a better person because I knew her. And so, like, every time gosh, I thought I was gonna make it through the podcast. Every time I wear it, I think of her, and I think of how proud she would be of you, Heather. And I'm just so honored to be able to wear her name, and one of my favorite things is, like, mixing it with other colors because Emily is I mean, it is a bold orange red, and so if you wear it I mean, it's buildable, so you can wear you can wear it and it's very it's very pretty, just a very light layer, but if you wanna go if you wanna, like, punch it up, you can go really bold, but it's also really pretty mixed with other colors, and one of my favorite colors to mix with it is joy, and it becomes this beautiful, like, red, pinky shade that's just stunning, and so I think that, there's so many products to love with Restore. I mean, I could have listed 12, 15, 20 of them, but I think Emily's always gonna have a special place in my heart, so that's what I would say.
Ugh. Well, that just touches right to my heart. And as you were saying it, I thought of several of the products, including our Go capsule, which is the smaller version of it to give you options and travel capabilities. Like have come from the I wouldn't say pushback, but from your difference, like you said, your boldness in that. And even with Emily, like that color in particular, it's been really cool to get your feedback and Brienne and other FPM, kind of gave feedback, and then even Emily's best friend, Shelly, gave input on it, and it's been so special to be able to watch that come together, and you've had a huge hand in a lot of the facets of development, and everybody has. I mean, honestly, it's been a blessing to be able to build this product line, not just in what's in my own brain, though some of them I think are direct downloads from the Lord that I feel called to implement, but others, it's truly come together through the feedback like you mentioned. So the last little surprise element is I want you to tell us about Charlotte because Emily is, well, and I'm sure Emily is a grandmother name for a lot of people, but all of our color shade names are grandma names, either from a founding partner mentor or someone that's been, really a close part of this experience. And Charlotte is an incredibly gorgeous, actually newer shade that I thought had it's downstairs actually, but it is a beautiful, warm champagne that's meant to be perfect on the inner corner. I actually have Mary Lou, which is my grandmother, on today, but it's like a warmer version of this. And it's incredible as an illuminator. So again, this is Mary Lou if you're watching on YouTube. But I want you to talk to me about the name, like the person Charlotte, your grandmother, and tell us like what she means to you.
So, my grandma Charlotte is my dad's mom, and she actually passed away in May a year and a half ago, and my daughter, Kerrigan, my 3rd child, her middle name is Charlotte after my grandmother, and she's always been a special grandmother. I have a lot of fond memories. They lived in Minnesota. All my dad's family, it was in Minnesota, and I have a lot of special memories going to their house for Christmases, and, because it was Minnesota, there was always snow, and it was very magical, and I am the 1st grandchild on both sides of my family, and I've always just had a very special connection with her, and I don't know if it's because I was the 1st grandchild. My dad actually over Christmas had sent my sister and my brother and I a picture and said, like, Guess who this is?" I knew right away it was my grandma Charlotte, and she had this beautiful, full, dark, curly hair. Not curly, but, like, just, like, bouncy, voluminous curls, and this picture was, like, I don't know, from, like, 1940 something, and she was sitting on top of, like, a an old car, and I favor her, my rounder features, and just my brother and my sister are like twigs. They're like I mean, we're all tall, but they're like sticks. They, like, favor my mom's side that way, and but I'm more curvy and more round features, and I favor my grandmother, and I always felt a little weird because I didn't look like my brother and my sister, and I thought that I should, like, I wish that I had the more thin bones and the thin frame, and but seeing that picture over Christmas, actually, I'm so proud. I'm so proud to, like, carry on what her legacy. She worked in the school system for years, and the stories that my dad tells about her mothering style and growing up, and I just always remember I just her hospitality was just something that was unmet, which is probably now I am so I love hospitality so much. I have a new appreciation and love for hospitality and for, learning how to treat people well and and making somebody feel seen. And she did that so well. I mean, you didn't go to her house without her, like, pulling cookies out or coffee, or she was always prepared, and her energy, she just always was you could just feel it. She just always had this presence about her that was just so beautiful, and so, so I love that the color, when Heather was describing it, is meant to, like, illuminate, the parts of your features that, to brighten them and to illuminate them, and it's so perfect, when we were kinda discussing, like, what shade, and originally we thought Charlotte might be a lip cheek color, which would have been great, but I think it's more perfect for this because she's an illuminator, she was, and she lit up every room, and people just adored her, so I hope that I can carry on that legacy of her illumination and her hospitality because she was one of a kind.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I thought to ask that question, and a lot of these stories I don't know, and I know that the legacy that a lot of times our grandmothers, certainly mine, have left on our lives is such a special one, and I think that's one of the reasons that is a God-given inspiration that I can't even take any bit of credit for to name them because there's so many stories about the women who've come before us and the impact and legacy that they've left, and it's so special. What a beautiful, beautiful story, and thank you for making me love her even more now. So excited. Well, this has been amazing. I feel like we could, like I said at the beginning, talk for hours. And again, I don't think this is the last time you guys will be hearing from Colleen or really any of the FPMs, but I am so glad we got to share a glimpse of the journey that we've had together and the path that the Lord has brought us on together now. And I would love to invite you to pray for those listening as we wrap up the podcast.
Yep, would love to. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for just another day. Just another day to get up and be able to get to do the things, not have to do the things, but get to do the things. And Lord, I just pray for every person listening, every woman listening. Lord, I just thank you for each one of their stories and how they will contribute to restore whether or not they decide to become partners or advocates or customers, Lord, that each one of them matters in how you've created them to be. And I just pray that as, we wrap up here, that something in my story resonates, something makes them think fondly of someone that they know, or a feature that they have, or a personality character trait that they have, Lord, that these are just gifts from you. And I just pray that each one of these women, learns to really harness those and use those because they're gifts. And I just pray that as we continue to build Restore, that we just keep it under the umbrella of your direction, God, that you continue just to show us the way to go, and that everything we do glorifies you, Lord. I pray for each woman listening, each woman watching. I pray for all the FPMs and Heather and Roger and all the formulators and all the vendors and everyone that we work with, Lord. What an honor to build something for your kingdom, God. We love you, and it's in your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. So good, friend. Well, I'm grateful for you. So thank you again for being here.
Love you.
Love you.